Right now, let's talk with America's youngest conservative journalist who founded the Truth Gazette when he was 11 years old, the editor-in-chief, Brilyn Hollyhand. Welcome to Victory News. Now, my generation said the Pledge of Allegiance every morning at school. You could say it, you could just remain quiet, be respectful. It was no big deal. So why do you suppose the Democrats opposed Congressman Matt Gaetz encouraging it to be said at the start of hearings?
Well, Greg, thanks so much for having me on. It's always good to be on Victory News. I'm fortunate to still go to a school that says the Pledge of Allegiance, but I know a lot of people that I talk to when I'm traveling the country are not so fortunate. There are schools across the country that have taken the pledge completely out of the classrooms. Years ago we heard about them taking God and this, the moment of silence that we normally start our day off with out of the classrooms, and now we're hearing that they're even taking the pledge and the flags out of classrooms. It's the Democrats have showed their true colors over the past few years. They've tried to take the Constitution away and rebrand that and, use words like it's racist or out of date to justify their cause. We've seen them take on statues of our founding fathers. And now they're trying to take the pledge out of classrooms and take the pledge out of Congress, the most important building in our country. So no part of me is shocked that the Democrats are doing this, but I am frankly disgusted at it.
Okay, you wrote a new article to that point calling for the Republican Party to recognize the importance of Gen Z or risk extinction. Tell us more.
Yeah, I went on air the other day to talk about this article, and I said, the Republican Party is at risk of extinction. It's an endangered species right now. Because if they don't start involving my generation in the party, well, the party could die eventually. I got a lot of hate on Twitter and on social media for that. They said I was fear-mongering. I was not fear-mongering, Greg. I was telling the truth. If you read the article, your audience right now can go to thetruthgazette.com/gazette. That's thetruthgazette.com/gazette to read the full article. After the start of the new year, I said, look, we've got to sit down and address the problem going on with our party. There's this infighting between Trump and DeSantis. Nikki Haley's running now. You might see Tim Scott or somebody like that run. There's a lot of infighting leading into 2024, but that's not what we should be focusing on. What we need to focus on is why we didn't win the midterms and why we didn't win 2020. So when I sat down, this is the problem I looked at. I call balls and strikes within the party. This is the main problem I saw. The party has to involve my generation. When you look at churches and you see a church that has a more elderly population, well, when that population dies, there's no church anymore. When churches that flourish more are churches that have a younger population, have strong youth groups, stuff like that. So that's what the Republican Party needs to do.
Okay, so how does the Republican Party do that? Is there one simple thing you can tell us?
Yeah, well, there's incredible organizations like Turning Point USA across the country doing the Lord's work, really. I mean, Charlie Kirk's a really good friend of mine. What they're doing is incredible work. But the RNC does not have anything like Turning Point USA that they're physically doing. The DNC started a youth council in 2003 to actually pump out information to my generation, and it's been working for them. They won. Joe Biden won a youth vote in 2020 by almost 30%. The RNC has not done something. The DNC started this in 2003. That's insane. So what we need to be doing is having the RNC actually focus on my generation, spend money, spend time on my generation. It's embarrassing that they haven't so far, and I'm calling the RNC to do that today.
If you're a Republican, tell your leaders that, or if you're a pastor, I hope you just listen to him. This week, Joe Biden said climate change is a bigger threat to humanity than nuclear war. Climate change is a bigger threat to humanity than nuclear war, Brilyn. Do you agree?
Absolutely not. I think Joe Biden's a greater threat to humanity than climate change and nuclear war combined. So I don't think he has much to talk about there. But if he's going to focus on, being this world peace guy, and what he's trying to do is jockey for a Nobel Peace Prize like his buddy Barack did. So if he's really going to focus on that, he needs to spend his time and energy focusing on real problems here in the country, like the southern border, like the opioid crisis, like inflation, and these soaring gas prices we're seeing again. Joe Biden's just trying to jockey on the world stage to get into the Nobel Peace Prize, and it's not going to happen.
Okay. California reparations panel has already recommended millions of dollars in reparations. They're now calling for prisons to be closed, prisoners to be given the right to vote. So how do you think that'll affect the average citizen in California?
Well, I don't understand why California, one of the countries and one of the states in the country with the largest surge of crime, is trying to put prisoners back on the streets. Since Joe Biden took office in the past few years, we've seen a rampant surge of crime, especially in South Carolina or in California. So why would this state of all states want to close their prisons and put these prisoners on the street? We've seen enough people come across the border and start problems. We've seen that happen. So I don't understand what they think is going to happen here. when they let these prisoners from their prisons out on the streets. It's a crazy idea.
It is a crazy idea. It makes no sense. Here's another one. The New York Post says that George Soros is the most dangerous man in America. He earned the title spending a fortune to broadcast his leftist message on crime, climate, radicalism, abortion, racial politics, Marxist economics, anti-Americanism. How can conservatives combat this man's vision for America?
Well, it's dystopian is what it is. And that's his vision for America. He's just attacking the fundamental beliefs of America. What I talked about at the beginning of the segment is I'm patriotic, and we need more people to be patriotic in this country. So that's what the Republican Party needs to be pushing back on. We're proud of this country. The American dream is alive and well. And as much fear porn as George Soros puts on TV, we can fight that back.
We can, Brilyn, and you give me hope that we're going to do it. We're going to make it. Thank you for being with us today on Victory News.
Thank you for having me, Greg. It's an honor.
You bet. Mike?